What's going on, my brother?
How you doing? How you doing, Scott? Welcome to
Welcome back, man.
episode 3. Welcome to the Money Sex Gen X podcast. It's your main man, the host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that made him cry. Mr. Eric McLoyd, how you doing? I got my co-pilot here, Mr. Big Stu. What's poppin', homie? How you feeling, man?
Good, man. Feeling real good, man.
Okay.
Feeling real good. I'm optimistic.
You're optimistic. Okay, what are you optimistic about?
This new future, the new norm, man. I'm optimistic about the new norm.
Talk to me a little bit about that. What is the new norm as you see it?
I believe for me, the new norm has been a lot more reflection. The new norm and slowing down, relaxing, taking time to be intentional about things, about life, not rushing. It reminds me of the old days when I had the chance to listen to albums.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. Those days, I've kind of forgotten about those days, but yeah, I miss those days too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm optimistic, man. I'm optimistic.
Well, that's good to hear some optimism, man. I mean, there's been a lot that's gone on this week in my family. There's a lot going on in the country right now, so it's definitely good to hear that optimism. I think a lot of people out there, including myself, we're starting to feel this not being able to move around outside as much. And like you said, we're finding alternative ways to kind of cope and get through and kind of frame what's happening. But I wanted to ask you, overall, how do you feel like Black people especially are faring during the COVID-19 situation at this point?
Well, it's hard, man. I believe we as a people, it's hard.
One second.
I think we haven't had, historically, we as a people just haven't had the savings. And so when you take away our ability to earn or to continue to bring in that income, I think that it causes hardship. So, if we as a people historically have, had 12 months of savings, 24 months of savings, 36 months of savings.
Yeah.
As opposed to many of us, and really it ain't just Black people, but we're talking about Black folks, but many of us continue even in 2020 to live paycheck to paycheck. And so we need that income, brother. We need that money, man.
True.
And it's tough, man. It's been kind of decimated, man. It's been taken away. And so a lot of us are scrambling in a lot of ways to not lose our minds, man, to not lose our minds because our ability to earn or our income has been drastically cut.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I've definitely seen and heard a lot of that. And also, I just think it's interesting how Black people are being portrayed right now in relation to the COVID-19 situation. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I was sharing with you how I felt like when I was going outside now, people are kind of looking at me like, I'm the one who's walking around with this thing. And I said that somewhat facetiously, but all kind of serious. But then I'm seeing now in the news various instances where most of the stories are revolving around Black people and, all these different issues. And it's funny, I just wonder, how do we get to a point where all the attention appears to be, and maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's on us in relation to this virus.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw somebody posted in New York, a hotline was set up for if you see any racial discrimination towards Asians in New York. And the person who posted it was like, they've never seen a hotline set up for racial discrimination towards African Americans of Black. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, how do we become the center subject of this pandemic, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, and I don't have the answer to it. I don't have the answer, Eric, but I will say this. The people, I can see where the folks who are outside and that are not wearing masks, kind of, I can see you being portrayed as reckless, right? But then where do you get the mask from? You got to have a plug to get the mask.
Yes, you do.
And they're not cheap. Now Black folks got the fancy ones. They got the Louis Vuitton ones. They got the Dolce and Gabbana ones. You got your Goyard masks. You got, so they're not cheap. They're $10 or more a pop, unless you can find somebody who can give you some masks, for free, or but we are, as a people, I think, from man, I think there's many of us who are just not adhering, man. It's like anti-disestablishmentarianism, right? Just F the system, man. We're gonna do what we want to do, thus leaving us vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we're vulnerable in a lot of different ways right now. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I guess I'm extra sensitive to the media portrayal right now. Maybe you've been following what's been going on in China.
No, tell me, what's happening?
Oh man, in China, Black people are being removed from their homes.
From their homes?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you talking about? Tell me about it. What?
Yeah, so apparently, and I don't think I knew this really, because I haven't been to China yet, but there's a population of African people in China. And so at some point, there's been this pivot where now, if you are Black, you're being removed from your home and isolated. Not even removed, I don't think that's the proper word, yanked, forcefully taken from your home. And then in addition to that, there are signs that have been showing up on social media at various McDonald's in China where they're saying, no Black people, you can't come in here.
Now, I did see that.
I was like, wow.
Now, I did see that, and I put it to the back of my mind because I couldn't fathom that. I didn't see that. But I didn't know about being removed from your home, man.
Oh yeah.
From your crib. That's terrible.
Yeah. So now we're the people who, I guess we're the responsible parties, I guess, for COVID-19. I just think it's an interesting pivot, right? Because we know we know the origin, and now we're getting yanked, African people are getting yanked from their homes, Black people. It's just, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And, my thoughts and everything, and, everything go out to those people that are being affected and removed from their homes. I definitely hope this clears up soon, but this is just, the pivot is crazy to me. How do we get here? The Black person is being yanked from their home. So obviously we cannot control this media portrayal or really, a lot of this stuff. But what I wanted to talk about today, and this is what you and I talked about a little bit in the pregame, I wanted to take this to more of a positive note. I wanted us to talk about times where we have collectively utilized our power in the media and created these beautiful pieces of content. Specifically, we said we were going to talk about, because I'm sure we're all watching Netflix, right? So recently, School Days popped up on Netflix. Was School Days already on there, or I'm just now catching it?
No, it was new to Netflix.
Okay, all right. So of course I had to watch School Days again, right?
Yeah.
Then that took me down a whole road of other related types of shows, and I wanted to have this discussion with you. So this came out in School Days came out from Spike Lee. I'm sure everybody knows that, in 1988. Now see, we got some footage playing here on the side, right? And I want to ask you, when this came out in 88, did this mean, first question, I got a lot of questions for you, but the first one is, did this mean anything to you in 1988?
Oh, yes. Hell yes. Talk about game changer. I was a junior in high school,
Okay.
and I had known about HBCUs, but it was everything. This movie solidified every ounce of my bone that I was going to an HBCU, and nobody was going to do anything to change my mind about that because
Okay. So it had a very positive and powerful impact on you at that time.
I went to an HBCU.
Okay.
I went to an HBCU. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying that this imagery is partly responsible for that, or largely responsible for that?
Yes, more so than any school counselor, anything that my parents said. Actually, my dad was not for me going. I went to Southern University, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
My dad was against it.
Mm.
My older sister had went to Grambling. I didn't want to go to Grambling. But yeah, man, I didn't care what my pop said. I went. I was gone. HBCU, man.
Okay.
Spike Lee. Thanks to Spike Lee for opening my eyes and putting that movie out there the way he did. Yes.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, anybody out there, you're watching the Money Sex Gen X podcast with myself, Mr. Eric McLoyd, and my co-pilot, Big Stu. Put mind, give us a few comments about what you were feeling when School Days came out in 1988. In 1988, I was a freshman in high school, and I really asked myself, I was trying to reconnect with my mind state freshman in high school when this came out. I don't know that I could fully remember what I was thinking, but I do know this. This was the first time that I started having this development of what blackness is. I don't know if I had ever really thought about it before and seen it in like a story form, right? Because we think about what we saw in the movie where Spike Lee's character, he's pledging to the Greek fraternity. And then you got the brothers on campus who were, they were into the Black Power movement and all of that. And I do remember me seeing that, like, I didn't even really fully understand what I was seeing, but I felt like I was on the side of Lawrence Fishburne's character, right? I didn't know why. I didn't have all the knowledge, but I'm like, you know what? I'm riding with this character. That feels more right to me. How are you feeling about that whole portrayal?
Yeah, I definitely was on the. I would lean more towards Fishburne's character. I wasn't Spike Lee's character. I definitely didn't associate with that, like that desire to have to be in that fraternity, like needing that level of validation.
Yeah.
But I was about to wake up, and I think also I was between Fishburne's character and Radio Raheem's character.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm gonna play some sports. I'm gonna chase these girls, but I'm on the conscious side, like.
Right.
I'm not unaware of my decisions and my actions.
Exactly. Yeah, I could feel that. So I did not end up going to an HBCU, but I still feel like this impacted me very heavily. What other themes kind of jumped out? Well, I'm going to say this. I know the whole theme about the light skin, dark skin, and the whole dance off situation that they had in the movie. That definitely stuck with me, and I remembered how I kind of felt when I was in 9th grade watching that. What are your thoughts? Do you remember how you were feeling specifically about that at the time, and how do you feel about it now?
I don't remember at the time. I think I was just fascinated with the social aspect that they portrayed in the movie. But what I found when I watched it a couple of weeks ago, for the first time in probably at least a decade, probably more. But Lawrence Fishburne, his character, Dap in here.
Yeah,
he was a hypocrite. He was hypocritical. As seemed like everybody in the movie was very, very hypocritical, steadily judging, yet actually, being the protagonist in the story. Like, you're judging folks, but you're doing the same thing.
Right.
So like Gap is judging these guys for being in a frat, but they're their own frat. You know what I mean? Like they actually got in the step show. They were actually in the parade. Like everything they were fighting against, they were doing. So I thought that was an interesting component that I didn't recognize in 80s, 88.
Yeah, 88. Yeah, it came out February of 88. Yeah.
Black History Month, 88. That's an interesting time, man, for him to drop this movie, man. So
yeah, it definitely was. And you know what? I always thought that, and I don't know if my dates are completely accurate, but I always thought that School Days came out first and A Different World came out second. But from my research, and you know, online, it may or may not be accurate, but I have online, they're saying that A Different World came out in 87 and School Days came out in 88.
Yeah.
Now, I'm confused because I saw this quote. I don't know if the quote was real, but Spike Lee was saying that he felt like Bill Cosby got his whole idea for the show from School Days. But I don't know how that could be if Different World was out first.
Well, they probably were in similar circles. I remember A Different World before. They were around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Cosby Show introduced Hillman, University Hillman, and then Birth, School Days. They could be, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I do know they are very, very similar.
Yeah.
The whole nine. So
they definitely are. So my other takeaways from School Days, you know, definitely, you know, the light skin, dark skin thing. But I do like what you said also about, you know, people being hypocritical. And I thought about, as you were saying that, I thought about times that maybe me personally, you know, I've been hypocritical in some of my views where it's like I'm saying this and that about blackness, but then you've chosen to do something that may appear to be totally opposite of what you're saying. And I wonder if they obviously they purposely put that in the movie, but I wonder in life, is that unavoidable to be hypocritical to your views, particularly on blackness, when we live in a situation where you could be compromised constantly?
I think it becomes, and so I don't know, is it unavoidable to be hypocritical? Yeah, I think what makes it hypocritical, what makes you a hypocrite is the fact that you judge others for doing it. You know, that's the part that makes you hypocritical. It's like you can recognize that you do a thing, but you got to recognize that you do a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no sense in me complaining about shit that I do. That's the hypocritical part. So, yes, you cannot be hypocritical by not complaining about the shit that you do.
Okay.
Catch this part right here.
Okay.
I believe we complain about the things that we do.
Right.
So by nature, to your point, you're going to be hypocritical.
So if we remove the part about you speaking about somebody else, can you avoid being hypocritical, right? So yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing, but I cannot have to keep my mouth closed when it comes to the next man, and then I can avoid being hypocritical. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the work. That is the practice. You know I can be hypocritical all the time, but
sure, same here. I mean, I've definitely been hypocritical. I mean, I think my hypocrisy comes in more so because my mind moves so fast that I might change my views on something from the last time that I talked to you. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm necessarily trying to be hypocritical, but I just don't view it the same in this moment. You know, and I think I've had issues with people that are like, well, you said so and so and so and so. I did say it. But right now, I'm not feeling that way. You know, I'm not trying to be anything other than myself, but I just don't feel that way in this moment. I may have seen something else. I might have had a few conversations, and my thought process, you know, may have evolved on a specific issue.
Yeah. Here's a classic, that classic scene from School Days.
Yeah,
If
man.
you go back and you analyze this scene, man, there, none of their arguments were valid. Like, they seem valid on screen, but if you analyze them, like, none of them are valid at all. Like,
Absolutely
they
not.
have no reason to be at each other's necks. No reason to be. Like,
Not at
they're
all.
all saying the same thing. It's crazy.
Did you witness this type of stuff going on in your normal life with this type of division, that it was this clear?
Not
When
that
you
it's this clear, but I don't think I made the connections, but definitely you witnessed that. I mean, anytime a light-skinned person is being referred to as being white or called the white girl, or, you could see, and I don't mind pushing this envelope, man, but you could see a particular sorority seemingly looking like they only have the light-skinned girls in their sorority. It's like,
sure.
is that really one of y'all requirements? Because it looks like it. Looking at this whole line, I don't see too many dark. Like, you might have one just so you can say, oh, they got one.
Right.
I've seen that in real time, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Another sorority seeming to have all the curvaceous girls. The curvaceous girls are in this one particular sorority. It's like, is that because y'all couldn't get in the other sororities? They wouldn't let y'all in, so y'all all came together to create your own sorority?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I've felt that as well. When I was watching School Days, I saw this actress in there that I hadn't seen in a minute. In the scene, in the dance-off scene, it's a sister in there. She's probably the only darker-skinned woman in the light-skinned quote unquote sorority. She's the lady that was in Poetic Justice, that owned the hair salon.
Oh, Vivian. She played Will Smith's aunt?
Yeah, is that her? There she is right there. Is that the same lady?
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, I noticed that this time when I watched it. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice her that other time. Yeah, she's in there.
It's another.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's a lot of folks that got their start are in.
Oh yeah.
School Days.
Oh yeah. And they're still holding it down, because Giancarlo Esposito. I just saw him in what's the name of that show that I watch on Netflix? It's like a Breaking Bad spinoff. Better Call Saul.
Okay.
I don't know if
I didn't see that.
It's a spinoff of that show Breaking Bad, and he's one of the main characters, and he's still holding it down. He's still doing his thing.
Yeah. Mike Tyler joined in. He said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves.
Very profound. Very profound.
I'd like to know more about what he's saying. That is profound. I believe that.
Yeah, I have to process that more, but yeah, that's something great to think about. Now, I was going to ask you this. When you were watching this as a kid, and I don't know if you're willing to share this as a teenager, who did you think the prettiest woman was on the screen?
Man, that's crazy. I remember, for me, it was, I'm going to have to find the scene too. The prettiest one, I'm going to pull the scene up. The prettiest one was the girl that Radio Raheem took back to the dorm.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, I got to me was the prettiest one to me, because I'm tall, right? You know what I mean? And she's super tall, and she was fair skinned. Here's the scene right here. She was fair-skinned, tall, pretty, That
was a dope scene.
That was the one that I liked. I was like, oh man, she tall, she light skinned, she cool,
Right.
I know probably I never thought what's her name? Gina Martin.
Oh yeah, Tisha Campbell.
I never thought she was super attractive.
Really? Wow, I did.
I never found
I thought Tisha was fly. But I think I was more into at that time. I liked the sister that Lawrence Fishburne was dating with the short hair.
Indeed.
You know, I've always been into chocolate, but also liked Jasmine Guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The guy was holding it down back then, man. She was looking really good. So
here's the sister that I have a deeper appreciation for her watching this now. That this sister here, she definitely is highly attractive.
Yes. Yeah. And I used to like Spike Lee's sister a little bit too. Her
yeah. She had
an interesting look, but I thought she was attractive. You know, I don't remember her name, but shout out to her. But yeah, man, definitely. Yeah, I think I would say Jasmine Guy at the time, and the sister that Lawrence Fishburne was with. But I think that got me thinking about what type of women I would be dating when I got older, when I went to college. It just took me down a lot of different paths. You know, just that one movie. Very, very powerful.
I thought that college was where you were supposed to find your soulmate. That was where you were supposed to find your wife. You're supposed to find her in college.
Yeah.
So that myth was busted for me. It was like, nah, that was I know some people did. I got a couple of friends who actually have married their college sweethearts.
Oh, okay.
And they're still married today. I have a couple of friends like that. So
I can't imagine that for myself. I mean, at that time, I was all over the place. So I didn't spend enough time with anyone. I didn't see anybody else really doing that either. I mean, everybody was jumping around, but I also went to a bunch of different colleges. So I was starting over, you know, all the time. But yeah, man, shout out to anybody who found their lifelong partner in college. That would have been cool, I guess. I mean, I can't really fathom it, but it seemed like it would have been interesting.
I mean, Spike Lee put it out there. I mean, look, Lawrence Fishburne and this young lady are having some lifelong conversation.
Yeah.
They're not talking about what's happening. They're talking about their lives. Like, he's really in her head about her decision to decide to be in this sorority when they're supposed to share these same perspectives on life and activism and being black. And she's deciding that no, I want to be a part of something. And he almost broke up with her, basically kind of broke up with her, like,
yeah,
if that's the decision you're gonna make, man, we can't be together. That was a heavy decision in college, man. I wasn't I wasn't thinking about shit like that in college, man.
I wasn't built like that. And that was what I thought about when I was watching it this time. I'm like, I didn't even have any communication skills in college.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was dealing with females, there wasn't a lot of extended dialogue. I mean, even if we were around each other and we were just out or at a club or at a party or something, it wasn't a lot of talking. I wish I had been able to do that, but I hadn't developed my communication skills at that point enough to be arguing with a woman about my philosophy, about life. I didn't even have one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Other than something stupid like some gear or something, but like just you're gonna be with them, I can't do it. I can't even imagine that. So shout out to anybody who was able to be that grown.
Shout out to all the forward thinking college kids.
Yeah, man, it wasn't me. I'm not gonna pretend, man. I didn't get that till later in life. So
later in life. But when I thought I had it, I didn't have it the first time. I'm just now getting it, Eric.
Same here.
I'm getting it, man.
Same here. It's a work in progress. Work in progress.
I have a question for you about school days.
Yeah.
You talked about him, Giancarlo Esposito, his role.
Yeah.
I'm probably saying his name wrong. He was what is your take on his role in school days, in specifically in relationship with Tisha Campbell and how he kind of manipulated her, if you will. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what are my thoughts about that? I just feel like that he represented a very different type of person than myself. I guess those were kind of my immediate thoughts. He definitely did manipulate her. I'm still just in awe that somebody had that much bandwidth mentally to even be doing that type of thing in college, because I wasn't there yet. But I just feel like, you know, his mission was just something totally foreign to what I could grasp when I initially watched it. Me watching it now, I just feel like he represents a certain mindset of people that I just, you know, I can't necessarily identify with. I'm not judging them. I just can't identify with the mentality.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I don't know if it's even fair to try to clarify what I think the mentality is. It's just, he definitely wasn't down with the pro-black movement from what I could see. He
wasn't down with the pro-black, and I think he was extremely chauvinistic.
I agree. He was definitely chauvinistic. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, like, what was his driving force? He didn't seem to have a lot of respect for what was right in front of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what that means, really.
But yet he had a lot of respect for blackness in the sense of honoring his code, the code of his organization.
Yeah. And that's why I say I'm not in a position to judge it, because I think what I've learned about people and their decision on how they choose to be black, I can't judge that. If somebody wants to do that through a Greek organization, I feel like they have the right to do that if that's what they want to do. Who am I to judge it? You know what I mean? I didn't choose to do that, but if that's what you want to do and you're able to foster family and community or whatever it is through that,
yeah,
so be it. You know, I think when I got in my early 20s, I would have been totally against it and had a lot of negative things to say. Oh, you're in a Greek organization. Now I don't necessarily, you know, even if I don't agree with it, I'm looking at the possible benefits of it. I think it's been helpful for some people to be part of those organizations.
So are you alluding to the consideration of pledging grad chapter to something, to some fraternity today?
Me personally, though?
You personally?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I'm just saying that I get it. You know, if that's what you want to do, I'm not in a place now where I can say, well, you're not black because you're in a fraternity. You know, I don't look at it like that anymore. And that leads us to kind of a bigger conversation that I wanted to get into with about, and I ask people this all the time, what does it mean? Before I ask you this question, I want to let everybody know you're rocking with the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. You're here with your main man, Eric McLoyd, my co-pilot here, Big Stu. Please like, comment, share. If any of this is resonating with you, you got something to say, please say it. We would love to hear it. But yeah, if that's what you want to do it, right? But what does it mean in 2020? So this movie was done back in 88.
88.
Yeah, and we've already established that Different World came down like 87-ish. And I believe that both of the authors or the producers of these movies were trying to give their take on blackness, right? Spike had probably a more, you know, he had a different definition than Bill Cosby for sure, right?
Yeah.
But that's 1988. We're in 2020. What does it mean in 2020 to be black?
Woo!
To you.
Woo! What does it mean to be black in 2020?
It's a heavy question, right?
That's a very heavy question. And you gave me this question early in the week to think about. I thought I was going to be able to handle this question until you just dropped it on me, and I realized I can't freestyle this answer.
Yeah.
Oh man, what is it? Damn, I'm on record saying struggling to answer this question. What does it mean to be black?
That's a tough question.
2020, man.
Yeah, 2020.
Um,
Well, let's do this. What did it mean to be black in 1988? What did it mean to be black in 88 when you were in high school?
I think in '88 it meant to be radical. It meant to be authentic. It meant to fight. And I don't mean physically just fight like gang street fight. I mean it meant to fight for your place. It meant activism. It meant standing up for your fair share. And at the time it was a lot of blame put on folks outside of the race, like demanding the government to do something or demanding the government to give us something, or 40 acres and a mule back in the 80s, from 80s and going into the 90s. Like to be black meant to show your heritage, to show your connection to Africa, show that you're connected, to show your intelligence, to prove that we are the original man, the true and living God, right? A lot of time spent mulling over the mathematics and 5% Nation and listening to Farrakhan and challenging the Bible at that time period, 80s and 90s.
So you were doing that in the late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Deep, man. I have my actual facts. I have my book. I have my printout right around here. I have my mathematics around.
I don't know if I knew that about you, man.
Yeah. 80.
That's interesting.
87, 88, 89, 90. I mean, I'm thinking De La Soul. I'm thinking Public Enemy. All of those, the early Tupac before he went to I'm talking about East Coast Tupac.
Yeah. Okay.
Baltimore Tupac.
Baltimore, yeah.
Baltimore Tupac.
Yeah. Wow, you were way more advanced than me, man.
I took on that. But let's go back to this original question. In your mind, because you came up with this question, what does it mean to be black today?
You're asking me now?
I'm asking you.
Here's what I've come through with all my thinking and talking to people and criticizing and praising and all this different stuff. What it means to be black in 2020, it means whatever the hell you want it to mean.
Damn.
That's what it means. Whatever the hell you want it to mean, that's what it means. Now, some people out there might be like, yo, that's crazy. What are you talking about? It means whatever you want it to mean. That's irresponsible. That's not right. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, I cannot force my values on you. I can waste time judging you, but what good will it do? So ultimately, isn't that where we land anyway? It means whatever you want it to mean. Whatever you feel like it's going to mean, that's what it is. We have to find a way to have a common ground in the midst of that.
Damn, Eric, you sound like a millennial.
Is that how the millennials? Oh, okay. I don't know, man. Maybe that is a millennial mindset,
Yeah, wait a minute. So it's just like, oh, no. I mean, my O's is like, nah, man, we have to have a collective agenda, man. We can't just be out here doing whatever we want to do as a people. Nah, man, nah. We have to come to terms on what it means. We have to have an agreed upon definition of what it means to be black. I cannot allow you to be out here saying it's whatever.
No, wait, hold on now. Hold on. I didn't say now, for everybody out there, I did not say it's whatever. I said it's whatever what you feel blackness is to you, that's what it is. Now, I don't think that introduces irresponsibility.
This
right?
He was that picture right there. I'll have to go back. That is my picture of blackness in the 80s. Right there. Like,
what's your picture of blackness in 2020 though? Is it still him?
Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Absolutely.
Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Yeah.
Dr. Boyce Watkins epitomizes blackness today.
Absolutely. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah. I can't even say President Obama epitomizes blackness today.
Nah, I never thought that. I mean, no, I have a problem with him, but I never thought that.
Self-sufficiency, brother. To be black today means you need to be self-sufficient.
So let's go back. I think this is an important conversation to have. So if someone has a different definition of blackness than we do, is there still any responsibility? Does that dissolve everyone of responsibility? So let's use this example. Say somebody was in the Nation of Islam and another person was like, they're in a church, they may really follow T.D. Jakes or somebody like that. Because you follow T.D. Jakes and I follow Farrakhan, we don't have the responsibility to come to a common ground on black issues.
I guess the question is, do you need, and now I'm retracting my own words. So I'm going back on my own statement. So do you need to have a common ground in order to move forward with someone from a different belief system? Like, can I respect that you are not Muslim and I am Muslim? Not that I am, but can we still move our agendas forward for the people, even though I don't agree with your philosophy?
Right, because I guess what I'm asking is, can you have a different belief system but still have a common ground?
Yes, I believe you can easily. Okay.
So circling back to what I said initially, because I think this is important. Again, that person who's in the church or that person who's in the Nation of Islam, ultimately they're going to view blackness differently. But I think what we have to start doing is getting past those initial belief systems and look for the commonality in the two belief systems and then use that to create some common ground.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying at the end of the day is all of that should make up the blackness that we talk about. There's no one blackness. That's over. If there ever was such a thing, especially in today's time, we can't really communicate it that way because you're going to lose too many people. Now, does that mean I have to agree with your lifestyle and your belief? No, I don't think that's necessary. But there are some things, obviously, that we have to try to work together on so that people can move forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Christina Janelle says, it won't mean the same to everyone because everyone has different experiences being black in America.
Absolutely. And also to add on to that, Christina, as you know, everybody has different experiences on being black in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So you got people who live in Africa, the Caribbean, all over the world, Europe, they're black, right? Who are we to say that they have to adopt our definition of blackness to be black? I think and I'm gonna tell you something. When I was younger, I used to think like that. The blackness was what I thought it was. If you didn't fit into that, then you're not black. Then I think we went into this whole period of telling people they were acting white, or they're acting this. And I think now people are looking at this a little bit differently. Like, is there a such thing as acting white, acting black? Maybe there is, but I think that conversation looks a little bit different now.
I wonder if I haven't been a part of the conversations. I haven't heard the sentiment about acting black versus acting white as much in the last. I can't even remember the last time I heard somebody say that. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if in our own race, how we look at each other. And I know part of that is we look at each other as like them blacks versus those blacks. There's subsets of black folks that we do this to ourselves.
No question.
Like, I don't want to go over there with them blacks. We don't even say that. We say something else, right? Like, I ain't trying to hang out with them.
Right.
They ain't cut from the same cloth as me. We don't represent blackness the same.
Yeah. And then people saying that about us too. They're like, well, I don't want to mess with them because no doubt.
Who they think they are. They think they're better than us. I think that's more the conversation than you acting white is like, you think you better than me. You think you better than us over here. Cats that's, from the projects versus cats that grew up in neighborhoods and homes. Right. There's some disconnect between those two subcultures within the culture.
Yeah, there's that. I agree with that. And then there's people who may have grown up. I don't think you and I grew up that way. I don't know your whole story, but like people who grew up as a millionaire.
Yeah.
They're going to view even like the middle class black person as they might not be trying to rock with us like that. Like, yo, you're not a multi-generational millionaire. There's no value for me to hang out with you. Not saying that all of any group would do anything. I'm just saying like these levels that we're talking about. So, but they still might consider themselves black, but they just don't want to be black with you necessarily.
So let's try to, I like this because I want to know what it means to be black in 2020. I want to know what it means to be black. And I think there is a responsibility. So the conversation is, if, being black is like, can you make a lot of money and live in the neighborhood? And it's like, which neighborhood? Because the upwardly mobile neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, drum roll please, do you know what that one go-to neighborhood is?
On the south side?
On the south side.
That Pill Hill somewhere?
I was thinking you was like people probably would say Bronzeville.
Oh yeah, Bronzeville, yeah.
Bronzeville. I mean, Pill Hill.
More so Bronzeville, yeah.
Yeah. And so, if you ain't in Bronzeville, if you ain't in Pill Hill, and so can you have a lot of money? Can you make more than $250,000 a year and live in Pill Hill, Bronzeville, Inglewood, Hyde Park, Chatham? Can you still live in, or must you go to the suburbs in order to thrive? Can you thrive in the community at $250K a year or more?
And if you choose not to, are you still black?
Did you abandon your people? You ain't one of us. You too good for us.
Right. No, that's a great thing to try to figure out. I mean, that's tough because a person could decide that they want to move, but then you don't know what all that they're doing to actually support the community. Like you said, they might feel that they might thrive more somewhere else, and then they're taking the money that they've made and putting it back into the community in some manner. They might be mentoring people that we don't know about. I think that's a tough question. And that goes back to this whole idea of the sellout. We don't hear that as much now, but it's still a real thing. Are you selling out your people?
Well, so I used to drive a Chrysler 300 when it was like popping, right? Like to have one, it was like, the response from driving that was close to, it's like a luxury car. Like it wasn't high end, but high end for American made luxury. It's like, oh man, you got the leather seats, you got the moon roof, blah, blah, blah. But I remember sometimes going to work with some kids, kind of feeling guilty pulling up in that, and that's just a Chrysler. That ain't no foreign. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wonder if other folks have ever felt a sense of guilt for pulling up in something, foreign in a community that is not thriving as the community in maybe which they live. Conversely,
I haven't.
Conversely, there are folks that are in those same communities striving to get, and I'm still talking about just the vehicle that is an example, this foreign, to feel better about themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
Does
well, no, finish. I want to hear it. What was you had?
I mean, like, is that a thing where
Oh yeah,
you feel some guilt for being able to afford these things and feeling like you've abandoned your people versus being rich and staying in the community?
you know what? I can't say that I've heard people express that. I would have to talk to more people about that. I've never felt that type of guilt, but for me, I've spent a lot of time not having things just as much as I've had them. So it would be kind of hard for me to feel guilty. I mean, I've had absolutely no money at times, and I've had a lot of money at times. So I doubt I would ever feel guilt. But I think where I would personally feel guilt is if I wasn't doing things to give back to others who are in that group. Like you said, they're trying to get to the next level. If I wasn't doing that, I would feel some guilt personally because people helped me. I can't say it was a lot of people that helped me, but they definitely did help me. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would feel that I have betrayed the help that I got. And was everybody that helped me Black? No, they were not. But in this conversation, we're talking about Blackness. So I'm talking about, the Black people that have helped me. And yeah, I would, but that's a good question. I'm going to have to ask people, some of my friends and associates, like, have you ever, that they may appear to be successful. Like, now here's another thing. If you know that you only appear to be successful, but you're really not, there really wouldn't be too much of the need to feel guilty, right?
Yeah.
Because you're really not off. You're not really well off. You just look like it. You got the fly whip. You got the lady on your arm and the clothes, but you're scrambling.
Been there, brother.
What I call it is scrambling and gambling.
Scrambling
and gambling. So what guilt would you have? And so when we look at that, there's only a small group of people I feel that are actually successful for real when you pull those books open and you look. So I don't think that guilt level is that high.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Interesting.
Only an opinion.
Yeah. I still don't know if I have a solid answer. I'm still looking for a definition, I guess, that I'm comfortable with for myself. What does it mean to be Black in 2020? Yeah. I'm concerned that many of us are forgetting about our ancestors and forgetting about our history.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking. I mean, I won't say nobody, but in my community, and I live in a represented community. When I mean represented, this community represents the essence of Blackness. It goes down in my neighborhood. Good, bad, ugly, and in between.
Okay.
Right? My neighborhood is thriving, but it comes with everything associated with a thriving Black neighborhood. There's crime, there's churches, there are community centers, there's shopping, there's some food. It's not quite a food desert, but everything happens. There are people that drive foreign vehicles. There are people that are on public transportation. There are good schools over here. There are highly underperforming schools over here. And so for this community, what does it mean to be Black? I really want to address that and figure that out, because I think it has something to do with being about your people.
Being about your people.
You gotta be squarely focused on helping your people. If you're not about helping your people, you're not Black in 2020.
I think that's very fascinating, because I was sitting here thinking, if we were two Asian people talking and we said, hey man, what does it mean to be Asian? Would the definition be the same for if you're really Asian or not?
Or if you ain't about helping the other Asians, you ain't Asian.
Yeah. Yeah. Would I be interested to know, do they view it that way? Right. So especially knowing, yeah. No, I'm gonna leave it there. I would like to know that.
This is what I do know about Asians and Jews. Somebody said, Joseph Cole says he disagree. I want to hear Joseph Cole, type your disagreement. What do you disagree about? I know that before Asians send their kids to school, they focus on etiquette. And I'm talking about before they send their kids to like preschool, they focus all those early years on etiquette. This is how you behave as part of this culture. Jews do the same thing with their children, Jewish community. And they even have Saturday school, what they call Jewish school, where they are indoctrinating their people on their culture. And that culture is like it's consistent. It's the Jewish culture, it's the Asian culture, whatever. And so we as a people, I don't know that we have that indoctrination into our culture. So I don't know, what is our culture? What is the Black culture? What is the Black experience? What are we in our rules of engagement?
I'm so glad you said that, man. What is our culture, especially now? So I've actually studied that word. There was a time when I was in my early 20s, somebody asked me, what does the word culture mean? And I could not answer the question. Right now, I would answer it by just saying it's the collection of everything that you do, everything that you say, everything that you eat. It's just the fabric of who you are. And culturally, you're right. We don't really do that probably in large numbers. So can you have a definition of Blackness without the cultural piece? Because I think that's where you would have the commonality. Right. So you get educated the same, but then you might ultimately say, hey, I want to be a Muslim and I want to be a Christian. But the education piece that you were talking about was the same. So at least you have that as a foundation.
Right.
So we might have some different beliefs, but the core is the same.
The core has to be. What's our core?
What's our core? And I don't know the answer to that right now. And that's unfortunate, right? Because I'm almost 50 years old and I don't know that. It's not because I'm negligent. I don't know it. I'm talking about for the larger group of Black people. And I always think about the world, right? I have people in my family who are Black throughout the world, not just the United States, not just Chicago, not just New York, whatever, the world. And so I'm always thinking about everybody as a whole. What is the common indoctrination? There isn't one. There isn't one.
We should find out what that is. For me, part of that answer always comes down to what is your family? What's your familial culture? What are the rules in your family? Just in your household. What are the non-negotiables in your household as a family? Right. Like when you come in here, you gotta take your shoes off. When you come in here, if you see dishes in the sink, even though you didn't make any, make sure there are no dishes in the sink at night. Make sure, and it's small stuff like that, but then there's bigger stuff. Like it might be, for me, it's always been important to say good morning when you see somebody in the. Some other folks may not say, well, I don't need to say good morning. Like I don't need to do, breakfast. We eat together. They'll be like, nah, I don't need to eat with you. So what is it for your house that begins to build your traditions and your culture?
Right. That's a great question. I mean, for me, what I try to instill in my children, it's not really, I don't really spend a lot of time focusing on the negative aspects of other cultures as much as I do trying to foster an appreciation for themselves. You can appreciate yourself without having to have a negative view of another culture, right? Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to all work and live in this country together and throughout the world, right? So me talking about I hate people and all. So for me, not fostering hate, but an appreciation of self. Appreciating yourself is so huge, man. I mean, you could go down so many different roads just appreciating who you are individually and culturally.
Right.
And I think that stops you from spending a lot of time hating other people. because you're just not using your energy for that. We could, if we use every ounce of our energy just trying to get in tune with ourselves, that's a tremendous job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just don't have that time or desire to waste time talking. Like I notice people talk a lot about Donald Trump all the time, for example.
No.
If that's what you want to do, that's fine. I mean, I have my opinion of him and just like everybody else, but I am not going to spend my time watching this dude on the internet, him or anybody else. I didn't even do that with Barack Obama. I didn't sit around reading about Barack Obama every day.
Right.
I didn't do it. And that doesn't have anything to do with my opinion of him one way or the other. I just didn't have time to do that.
Right. Right.
But I was focused on myself. So I think personally, that's where the Blackness has to start, a focus on you as an individual and then the collective, and then you can build from there.
Will we see this understanding of Blackness in our lifetime?
I don't think so.
What needs to happen?
I don't know, man.
What man, I wanna know, like, top, we have to bring this for another episode, like top 5 things Black folks must do to come together as, and look, and let me back up. I might be doing us as a people a disservice to go down this road. I think we as a Black people do stick together. Like,
for sure.
Yeah, we stick together. I'm not gonna front like we don't. Like, they're out in the general public. You see another Black person, you probably are going to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
And so that's first and foremost, right? You're just not out and about just dissing Black folks. I think that's just like the in-house stuff we do in our house.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think you're going to avoid that. But I think largely we support each other. We ride for other Black folks. So let me not even go down that rabbit hole.
Definitely.
Act like we don't when we do.
Right.
There are a number of groups out here talking about support Black businesses. A lot of folks are supporting Black businesses
all the time.
You and I right now is just one demonstration of Black men working together. Something that was hard to see for me in the 80s.
Right.
You know, groups of Black folks working together for common agendas. Okay. So I can't even act like I mean, this brand that I'm wearing right now, a young brother, I try to make sure that I'm supporting other brands from our people, spurring our economy. So right. I really can't even go down the rabbit hole I thought I was about to go down, because it doesn't make sense. We support each other.
Yeah, I mean, and is it 100%? No, but that's for any culture. Nothing is going to be 100%. And I think to your point earlier, one of the things that we have to do is start to acknowledge those things more. That's why I was making the point before about, yeah, I have been mentored by other Black people. I'm going to always say that. And I will always say I've been mentored by people who were not Black. I will always say that. But to me, it's more important to acknowledge the people that were Black that did it, simply because it doesn't get talked about as much. You know what I mean? Like, they did do that, and I'm going to give them their respect for doing that. But it sounds like what you're saying in this conversation is that being Black is an action. It's like a verb or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's an action-oriented sport, or if you will. Like, you got to be doing something.
Say Less says, we stick together, but not largely. I want to hear more about that, not largely. I have a comment about that. Joe Cole, I'm still waiting on your response to what you disagree about. But let me talk about Say Less's point real quick. We stick together, but not largely. Look, here's my philosophy. Just because you Black is not reason enough for me to do business with you.
Yeah.
Not just because you Black. No. I still expect a certain level of quality. I still expect a certain level of customer service. Look, I remember a question about whether or not, if doing business with Black folks, sometimes we ask them for the hookup. Hey, bro, that's the best. Come on, hook me up, brother, hook me up, man. Do you do that in other businesses? Not like that, but I always ask, is this the best price that you can give me?
Right.
I don't care where I am. Is this the best price? So I'm always looking to see, is there a coupon that I'm missing out on? Is there something but just because you black, no, I'm not going. But if you have the quality, if you have the customer service, and I think that's the piece that we miss. Like, some people are not just going to give you their money just because you're black.
I'm definitely not. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to give any group my money just because. It's just me. But black people fall into that as well. I'm looking for high quality services, to spend my money.
Right.
And I've received them.
Yes.
That we need to make that known. Like, I've received some very high quality and powerful services from black people.
Yes.
Women, men, in some cases, children as well. So I think we need to talk about that more too, because we always have that conversation about, I got really bad customer service when I went to this black place. Maybe you did, but there was no other experience that you had.
Right.
I find that hard to believe, especially when, I think my daughter said this was like, we got to stop viewing black people in this one homogenous, viewpoint. Like, everybody, and that was the point I was trying to make when we first started. Like, you can have a different view to me and still be black. We have to move away from this. There's this one view of, no, that's the problem now, because you want to be a Hebrew Israelite or something. Now I can't really rock with you. Who cares? Like, if the tenets of that is still being a good person, not killing anybody, not taking, what difference does it make? It's just another way to divide people for no reason. You're not in my same religion, so we can't build anything in the culture. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense, especially now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But have I been a victim of that type of behavior when I was younger? Absolutely. Because that's what I was taught to do.
Have you okay, let's see what he says. Say Less says, it just seems that because a business is black owned, it has to be discounted. That's kind of the point that I was saying. And I would say no to that. I work with a lot of, Eric, you know this, I work with a lot of people at the start of helping them start businesses. And one of the things that I run into all the time is that the business owners don't want to charge what I would deem as like higher prices, right? They want to always give these lower prices. And I found that they want to do that because they believe that's going to get them more business. And unless you're Dollar Tree or a discount store where the whole business model is based on discounted products or services, I am always suggesting be more market or competitive price, market price, or premium price. Because I think psychologically people associate higher quality with higher price. And so I don't know, Say Less, and I know you listening. It's not, I think that we as a people are going to ask you for that discount. We're going to ask. You have the right to say no.
Yeah.
People are going to do business with you because they believe, they know, like, and trust you, but they believe in what it is that you have to offer as well.
True indeed.
If you got something that's good, they're going to pay, bro. They're going to pay.
No doubt. That's a great point. And I will say this to that, Scott. I think a lot of it too is because, I think as black people, sometimes we're just getting certain types of services that others may have been getting. Like, we both do business consulting for people or provide business advice, for example. People didn't grow up getting business advice. You know what I mean? Like, their parents weren't, oh yeah, my business advisor is about to come. That you didn't grow up like that. I didn't, and I know a lot of other people didn't. So, like, if you're 40-something years old, you might be new to, you might not fully understand the value that's being provided to you. Or say you have a financial advisor or a CFO, whatever, and you didn't grow up with that. Yeah, you might ask for a discount because you might not really understand what this person can do to change your situation. They might be giving you a discount already before you even ask for one, and you don't realize that because you don't know the market pricing on a financial advisor or whatever it is.
And we ask for discounts on big ticket items all the time.
Yeah.
If you're buying a house, you're negotiating on price. You're buying a car, You're negotiating on price.
It's a
And
given.
so the fact of asking for a discount is not foreign. It's what savvy consumers are going to do.
Right. It should
Savvy
be
consumers are going to be like, bro, can I get this cheaper?
exactly.
You know, is this if I give you more business, can I get a better discount? That's just smart. That's just smart. I think we have to not make it emotional or not feel like we're going to lose the business if we say no.
Yeah, no doubt. And sometimes, yeah, like we might have to lose it. We might have to lose that engagement because they don't want to pay the price. I think that definitely helps. I've had to do that at times. Like, well, we just can't work together, unfortunately. And then maybe they'll have some additional experiences and come back and be willing to pay. You know,
right?
That's
might need to tighten up your business practices. If people ain't willing to pay you, and you're finding that everybody asking for a discount, maybe that's their way of saying they feel like you priced too high.
Yeah. I mean, you know, me personally, I'd rather just work with you pro bono than pricing it too low.
Yeah.
I'd rather just give it to you pro bono if I choose to do so than me charging you some super below market rate pricing. Like that would make me madder than just giving it to you for free. I'd rather just do that. That's been my response to it. I don't do that for everybody, but I have done it.
Let me take a moment right here to let everybody know that you guys are tuned in to the Money Sex Gen X podcast.
Yes.
With the host, Eric McLoyd.
Yes, sir.
One of the smartest, most intelligent Gen Xers I know.
Appreciate that, brother.
And I'm riding the wing, this is your man, Big Stu, riding the wing with Eric McLoyd. I know a lot of Erics, man. It seems like all the Erics I know are very successful. Do you know any other successful Erics?
I do. Quite a few.
Name my son Eric.
Yeah. You did name your son, or you wish you had? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I did. I named my son Eric, so you know, hopefully he'll things. But yeah, I do notice there are a lot of successful Erics. But I know a lot of successful Scotts too.
I don't even know a lot of Scotts.
I do.
But the ones I do know are successful. Okay. I don't know a lot of black Scotts at all.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of black Scotts though. Yeah, I don't know. I think you might be the only black Scott that I know.
I love it. You know, when I was young, I didn't like my name, man. You know why?
Why is that?
I thought it was a white boy's name.
Wow. And see, that's what I'm talking about. There we go again. That's a white boy's name. So now what? You not black? It was a white person's typical name. What does that mean for you culturally? Are you already at a deficit because of that, or what?
Not culturally, but I don't think people growing up, I don't think people caught what my mom did. She was very, very intentional about making sure, because I was born and raised in a time when if you were looking for jobs, it had to be on paper. You fill something out, you wrote your name down. Yeah. So she was very clear about making sure that I had a chance to compete and would not be judged by my name when it came time to apply for scholarships, jobs, or anything of that nature. She wanted to make sure I had a name that people would not discriminate against.
Did that strategy work?
It worked. It worked very well. All of my jobs, man, early on in the 80s, I first started working in 87 when I was 16. And I've always had great jobs, man. And I think a lot of it had to do with, one, you know, I was raised halfway decent, but my name, man, was got me the interview lots of times, man. Absolutely, I believe that.
Yeah, I've often wondered with people, the name that you are given, do you automatically start off at a deficit culturally just from the name? Like my last name is definitely not a name that's you would associate with a black person per se. You know what I mean? Did that cause me to start off at a deficit? And I've had this argument with people. Some have said no, some have said, I would have to say, I don't believe it helped. because now I'm starting off with someone else's identity from the very beginning.
What do you mean? You don't believe that you benefited from your name? Like you got extra opportunities off of your name growing up in the late 70s and 80s,
Well,
90s?
if I did, it didn't help me ultimately, because whatever the opportunities were, if I wasn't in the right mindset, it really didn't help long term. When you're in a situation where you don't even value, and you may not have had this experience, but I did, where I did not value who I was at all. Now, I'm not talking about not being confident and looking fly and all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your core, the core of who you are. Everything that you're doing, you're basically trying to kill yourself.
Damn.
Not
Self-sabotage.
outright, but basically. Where does that come from? It starts at the very beginning. You don't have any knowledge. You have no context. And then you're starting off with a name that, it's not really helping anything. Yeah, you got a couple of jobs, but you're killing yourself. So no, I can't go with that, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool. This is our family name at this point, and I guess we've decided to try to make it mean something, right? We work hard and whatever it is, but still that doesn't change the starting point, the foundation. You're at a deficit, and you got to work your way out of that and try to get your name to mean something. Now, conversely, I've seen people that came out with the supposedly black name or whatever. They didn't do any better than I did, right? But that still doesn't mean that that's not a good tool to get, to give a person. I don't even know what a black name would necessarily be at this point, because that's basically what we're trying to get to in this conversation, like blackness beyond the superficial stuff, right? You black because you got this certain hat on. You black because you got on some. No, I think we all know that that's not the case. But it's the same thing with the name. You're not black because your name is whatever, Malik or something like that. Like, yeah, that's better. But does that mean you're black just because you got that name? Maybe not. Depends on, from what I gather from this conversation, it depends on your actions on a daily basis.
Because I'm laughing because I know you. I would flip out. I'd be shocked if my daughter says, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend. His name is Malik. He's coming by today." You're like, "Cool, no doubt. I'm gonna check out Malik." And it's a white boy or it's an Asian dude at my door. I'd be shocked, man. I'd just be shocked. It's like I wouldn't expect nothing but a brother's name to be Malik or Khalil or Maurice.
Yeah.
Dwayne.
Yeah. Is that
I'm probably gonna get a lot of backlash from this.
Are those black names though? That's what I'm trying to get.
I don't see many other cultures of people, races of people naming those four that I just named.
Melvin, is that a black name? Melvin, Raheem.
You
know what I mean? I'm just trying to think back. I don't know.
I grew up around some white folks, and they tended to stick to biblical names in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Josephs, it's a lot of Michaels.
Right.
Lots of Michaels, lots of Josephs.
Daniel, I think.
Lots of Daniel, man. Yeah. And even now, today, modern, you see some Noahs.
Oh, yeah. Noah. Yeah, no doubt.
Very biblical names, man.
Are they starting out? Better because of that? Those names.
Names mean a lot.
And I'm not talking about privilege or anything like that. I'm just talking about them as a person. You wake up and and shout out to my main man, Matt Baller out there. I see you. Thank you for tuning in. but Matt, for example, his name is Matthew.
Matthew.
Right now, Matthew, cool guy. But did he start out with an advantage because his name was just him as a person because his name was Matthew? And I would have to ask him that as well.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. For example, did he start out better? What if his mother had named him Malik?
Look, if Matthew, assuming grew up in the same, his name is Malik, but he's in the exact same community and school that he was raised in, I would imagine, I'm making this all up, that people will be like, Malik? Like when you hear somebody's name, it's like that's your tag, man. So, people get, and at least in the schools that I work in, people are definitely being teased for their name. So if you got a name that's gonna off the bat get you teased, then automatically you got a different fight that other kids don't have. So now you got to deal with this shit.
Yeah,
people teasing me because of my name. Now I don't like my name.
So that doesn't help. Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you, no doubt. Then I'm starting to think back about people who weren't necessarily Black, but we lived in the same neighborhood, but culturally, now again, we define culture a little bit different back then, but for all intents and purposes at that time, culturally they were Black, but their skin was not. What do you think about that?
Say it again. Say it. Say
you had, I'm sure you've had, maybe a white guy or maybe even an Asian guy or somebody who they were in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And culturally, they did everything that you did. They thought everything that you thought. It wasn't, there's no separation for the daily life and the mentality, right? Would you consider that? Now, I guess we come to the acting Black, but I've seen people, they were not acting.
That's just who they were.
Right? And then we see examples of Black people who they're Black, but they maybe raised in a Caucasian environment, and that's how they act. They're not acting, but we still are going to say, oh, you act like a white boy. Is he acting? He's acting like what he's a product of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like when we think about that in the context of Blackness, it's like, man, that's such an interesting conversation. It's like, what would your environment need to be Black in 2020?
So let me get Say Less says, being Black is all about your experience against the world, judging your melanin and your coiled hair. Every day is a lesson learned for us. I had an advantage because my name, he said, was Ronald Williams. I wonder if, Say Less, did you change your name? I don't think he did. His name is Ronald Williams, and he believes he had an advantage because although he has his melanin and coiled hair, because his name is Ronald Williams or Ron Williams, that gave him an advantage.
Wow. Hey, if he's saying that's what it is, then that's what it is.
To your point about the someone from outside the culture kind of being raised in a particular way, and I wonder now, this is where it gets a little touchy. We might have to do a part 2 of this podcast. Code switching.
Mm.
You gotta know when to code switch, and understand that it's okay to code switch.
Okay.
Right. When I'm in a professional environment, I talk a certain way. When I'm amongst friends, I talk another way. That's code switching. If I'm going to meet with my colleagues at World Chicago, I present a way that is going to benefit me, yet represent who I am as a Black man in the most positive light possible. That's part of the code switch, right?
Yeah. I feel that's unfortunate. I kind of feel like now thinking about that's unfortunate that we have to do the shift.
Damn.
Right? Because why isn't our normal way of communicating enough?
It's not, because it's not our game. We're always going into somebody else's arena. to play their game. That's why, I told you I look up to Russell Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in the late 80s and stuff, man, he didn't wear suits to those meetings. He was a disruptor.
Yeah.
He got a lot of backlash for that.
Right.
Because it's not our game. He wanted to play it like it was his game. He brought rap to the industry, so he had the ability to do that. But most of us don't have that flexibility. So we have to play by their rules and their arena and their game.
Have you been in situations with other Black people where you still had to code switch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised at that answer, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Yeah.
I mean, I've been around some Harvard MBAs, some Black guys, Ivy League MBAs. I didn't go to an Ivy League. And so, yeah, man, I mean, it goes back to that, like, you ain't cut from our cloth. Like, we do each other in the community. It happens at the high end, too. Like, what school did you go to? You know what I mean? Like, who's your sponsor?
Right.
Who do you work for? Right. Like, sponsor.
Like, basically, why are you here?
Why are you here? Like, well, how'd you get here?
Right.
Yep. So, yeah.
Now, I wonder, those individuals, what is their view of Blackness?
Damn.
Is it more this thing where it's like, get up, pull your bootstraps and, do where you're almost assuming that if I'm not a multimillionaire like you, then it's because I've failed to do something. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen this context where, like, you might have a person that's like a billionaire and they're talking as if, I'll give you an example. Bill Cosby used to kind of talk like that. Remember back in the day, people used to get mad at Bill Cosby at the way he was talking to other Black people because the assumption was they weren't doing what they needed to do to get out of the situation, right? And so I know that still exists. It's like, I wonder if some people's definition of Blackness who are in that sphere is more about what others didn't do versus them seeing more of a commonality and maybe understanding why they're actually where they are. Like, if your mother and father was a multi-millionaire, of course you're going to be a multi-millionaire unless they lose it all. It's not necessarily because you were just such a great business person or whatever. You were born into money.
Look, I think when I hear teachers say to students, and literally I heard this before the COVID, before the school shut down, when I heard a teacher say this to students, and this is kind of where that ideology comes from. These are the words: I got mine, you got to get yours. That's a problem. That's a problem statement. Yeah. That's basically what you're telling, but to your point, you got these billionaires. It's like, I got mine, you got to get yours. It's like,
yeah,
that's a problem statement. It's like, but you didn't tell us about like how you got there, or you're not giving the steps. You're not giving the resources to get to where you are. You're saying, I'm in 6th grade, I'm in 7th grade, and this teacher was talking to 6th or 7th graders that I'm supposed to operate as a 40-year-old today? Like, no. Same thing applies in the professional space. I think it's like a lot of those people are talking to some lower class Blacks. I said that.
Right.
Lower class Blacks is like, oh, well, I made it. You should be able to make it too. It's like, yeah, but you gotta. It's so many steps that you are not even.
Somebody helped you right now. Somebody helped. Yeah. I feel you on that. I've experienced that. I mean, I've experienced that on a lot of different levels. Like that whole concept of you got to get yours. I haven't had anybody tell me that straight up, but that was their attitude. Even if they did tell me something that was more like, I'm gonna tell you a little something, but I'm really doing you a favor type of thing. Now, again, I've experienced the other part too, the great part, but I'm just talking about the people they like, yeah, I tell you a little something, but get yours, dog. Like they ain't say it, but that's the attitude. And I'm looking at them like, if you don't want to tell me, don't tell me. Like I'm going to ask you. I've always been that type of person. If you put me in a room with Michael Jordan or whoever, I'm gonna take my shot.
Right.
Like, you just have to tell me no. You know what I mean? And so I've always done that. But yeah, I've been shot down.
Sure.
And I've had people look at me like, why are you talking to me and all of that. And I've had people assume that I was going to do that because of different things, little whatever that I had or whatever. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not into that. So there's sometimes an assumption that you're going to be on that, even if you're not, because of what you supposedly have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing. But yeah, man, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure we could go on for 5 more hours. I don't know if we've necessarily boiled down what it means to be Black, but I do think we put some really good things out there.
Yeah, Say Less says code switch is key. And I think we definitely need to circle back to this conversation on another edition of Money, Sex, Gen X.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Money, Sex, Gen X. This was episode 3. We appreciate you all tuning in. We're going to try to come back next week with some more salacious topics, things to talk about. So please share this broadcast when you see it. We want to get you all, we want to get people locked in and really start talking about more things that you all want to hear us talk about. So drop those comments on Facebook and Instagram and let us know what topics you'd like to see. But until then, we are signing off. Peace.
Money, Sex, Gen X, guys.